What's up, dude? Today I'm going to show you how to perfectly execute a pan-fried chicken breast that is absolutely glistening with moisture. I'm also going to show you how to take that same pan with all those little brown bits on the bottom and make a pan sauce that will literally change your life and the way you think about food. Now let's go! I'll start by prepping the ingredients for the pan sauce coming up later on. I've got shallot, I've got garlic, I've got lemon, I've got chives. If you don't want to do chives, you could use another green herb like parsley, tarragon, or even dill is actually really good with chicken. Start with this shallot here. I'm gonna go ahead and just half it, peel it. And from here, we're gonna make a little brunoise, which is just a fancy name essentially for a very small dice. Just do your best. Slice through this way, and then we'll slice across here, just very thinly. So we got that nice fine dice. If you don't feel confident enough with a knife to make those really small cuts, I'll show you a way you can cheat a little bit. So I'm just slicing it across, which would be a julienne. Now turn this on the side, and I'll make a few slices this way. Now it's just much easier to slice this whole thing. Nothing's falling apart, right? So you can always just do this if you're not confident doing a brunoise, and you get basically the same effect right there. You can also cheat a little bit by just running your knife through it quickly after again. Little peeled garlic here. You could do the same with this if you want, but I actually like to get that shape of the garlic. So I'm just slicing straight across. When you get to the end, you're just slicing off one finger basically. I just happen to like that shape, but by all means, if you just want to mince it up, you can do that as well. For the chives, I got a nice trick for you. I love this one. Damp paper towel, and we're just gonna fold it a few times, just like so. Turn it this way. Take our chives here, and we're just gonna roll them up in here. You can do this with other herbs too, but it works especially well for chives. And it's just gonna keep them nice and compact. Take off those tips there. And from here, we can just start slicing through. And when you're slicing any herbs, you just want a really sharp knife. It's kind of the most important thing so they don't bruise and you get a nice end result. I love chives. It's kind of my favorite herb, I think. I'm bald. On another note, you now throw that into a Ziploc bag and it's gonna stay fresh for so much longer. Something about that little damp paper towel, the plastic bag creates a little sort of greenhouse effect and they just seem to last forever, really. Lemon, slice it in half, easy as that. For the chicken breast, I have one with the skin on here. You could do skin on, skin off. That's your personal preference. I happen to love the crispy skin. Tastes great, looks amazing. And I'm gonna start by just hitting it with a little bit of olive oil. Almost acts like a binder in the barbecue world to help the seasoning stick, which is the next step. Just need a little bit. As far as the seasoning goes, you can do what you like. I'm doing rosemary salt. If you know, you know. It's a homemade seasoning we make on this channel. It's super easy to do. Just add kosher salt to a food processor, then add a bunch of sprigs of stripped rosemary and sage that's picked off the stem, a couple cloves of garlic and some fresh lemon zest, then blend for about 1 minute, pulsing a few times along the way to get a good mix. And that's it. Now you have one of the best seasonings ever to have around. Just keep it in your fridge and it will last for like a month or more even. Although I try to use it up within about 3 weeks to get that good fresh flavor. Of course, we want to get that on both sides as well. Sergeant Gilbert is my little pepper grinder. That's just black pepper. My voice cracked a little bit there. Black pepper. Of course, that's going on both sides as well. I like going a little more finely ground with this pepper so that my chicken maintains a really good contact with the pan. There we go. I'll just let that sit for a few minutes while we get the pan warmed up. Whenever you're cooking protein in a pan, you definitely want to heat up the pan for a few minutes first. Get that real nice radiant heat going, and then you start cooking. And this pan is definitely one of my favorites. It's a stainless steel pan from Made in Cookware, who is the sponsor of today's video. And I'm honestly very proud to have them because I've been using their products long before they were a sponsor of this channel. And don't just take my word for it. There are 3 Michelin-star restaurants like Alinea in Chicago and La Bernardine in New York City that use these pans. Made in Cookware is designing professional quality cookware for you, the home cook. And given the price, I do feel these pans are some of the best bang for your buck. And their stainless steel line are definitely some of my favorites because they can be used for everything in the kitchen. And especially when it comes to searing meat and seafood. I'm talking lamb, chicken, fish, pork, whatever. They're crafted in Italy and used by professional chefs all around the world. They also feature a 5-ply stainless steel material. That basically means your pan is going to heat up really quickly, retain that heat really well, and disperse it really well, which in the end is going to give you the result of a really nice looking piece of meat or what have you. They can also go straight from the stovetop into an 800-degree oven, which is a nice touch. They also have a rolled rim on the edge of the pan, which is really great actually when you're making a pan sauce because you can dump that sauce out without having it dribble down that pan and everywhere else. They're just great pans. You can check out their stainless steel collection as well as Made In's other cookware by clicking the link down in the description to save on your order. Thank you so much, Made In, for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back back to the recipe. Heat's on medium-high. I'm just adding a little bit of neutral cooking oil here. Neutral just means there's not a lot of flavor. And this one has a really high smoke point. It's avocado oil. Although you could use another one, that's fine. You can see how that oil kind of shimmers now. I can just tell it's nice and hot. I'm gonna lay in your chicken breast and always lay away from you in case you splash the oil. Trust me, I learned the hard way. And I always like to put a little bit of pressure on the chicken here for maybe 20 seconds or so, just to make sure that skin has a nice flush, good contact with the bottom of the pan. You can even buy little weights that do this. People use them a lot for fish, especially, so it doesn't curl up, but this is fine for now. Just let it cook, right? Don't need to mess with it, don't need to flip it, don't flop it, just let it do its thing. When you're starting to get that spidey sense that it might be time to flip, rather than flipping and looking at it, here's what I always do anyway, is I get sort of almost eye level with the pan, and I just peek under, right? And I can see how it's doing. I don't want to turn it all the way around yet. It's looking really good. What I'm aiming for is to cook it about 30% of the way through from the skin side up, right? You can see where it's starting to turn white here. So just a little more. It's just been about 3 minutes, and now I'm flipping it. Look, it just, look at that. Look at the color of everything. This looks good, don't it? Another 3 minutes and that other side's got a nice sear. I'm gonna put it to the top of the pan, and then I'm gonna drop the heat all the way down to low, and we're gonna add cold unsalted butter. Tilt the pan so the butter doesn't burn. If it spreads out too much right away, it can burn really quickly. But as you can see here now, because it's pulled up, it's not burning. And what we're gonna do now is baste. And you don't wanna start basting too early, waiting for a nice foam here. You see the foam? Now we're ready to baste, right? Here you go. Obviously, if you want, you could add shallots, garlic, thyme, but seeing as how we have the rosemary salt here, and we're about to make a pan sauce, it would have just been overkill. So just butter, I just love that flavor. And I don't know what to tell you, basting is just badass, man. Look at it. When that butter browns, it gets this nutty, delicious sort of flavor to it that's now getting dispersed all over the chicken. It's also helping it to cook evenly, right? Because you got the heat coming from the bottom of the pan, as well as now the butter coming from the top. Let me get you a close-up here. Oh yeah, mesmerizing, isn't it? Subscribe to my channel. Subscribe. Now the tricky part about basting is you have a lot of extra heat coming from all this hot foamy butter. And so what I've noticed happens, and I never see this talked about, it's kind of misunderstood, is that you're gonna get a lot more carryover cooking. When I'm cooking a steak and I want it to be medium rare, a lot of times I'm pulling that 110 degrees or below, even sometimes 100 degrees. And it really depends on how aggressively I baste. So with the chicken, I'm not gonna take this anywhere past 150. If you're freaked out about that, you can take it further. But even pulling this at 150, it's gonna carry over all the way up to 165. I've been basting for about 3 or 4 minutes. On another note, chicken breast is shaped like this, right? It's got a thin tail end and a fatter end. While you're basting, if you can, just try to aim for the thick end. It's almost like you're concentrating your firepower and heat on that end, helping it to cook evenly. This is especially important if you have an airline chicken breast where that wing portion is still attached, because it sometimes is really hard to cook that joint. Do your best to aim for that fat end. Now get it out to rest. As a general rule, you want to rest your protein half the time you cooked it. So if I had it in the pan for 8 minutes, I want to rest it for 4, although I like to go a little bit above that and do a minute more, so 5. So if I cooked it for 10, I would do 6. If I cooked it for 8, I would do 5, and so on. Now with the fat here, I'm just going to get that out. Of course, most important thing right now is don't throw away this pan. There's a lot of flavor in there, and that's what we're going to use to build the pan sauce. This leftover chicken butter you can save. It's got a lot of nice flavor. Time for the most fun and important part of this whole video, making that pan sauce. You know, in French cooking, there's a lot of these sauces that take literal days to make, like demi-glace. And for me, there's something really beautiful about being able to take this dirty chicken pan and make a sauce that is just so packed with flavor and so delicious without having to take days to make it. Turn the heat on back to medium, medium-high. Start by adding those shallots, and they'll already start picking up all that fond because there's moisture in here. And since they're so small, they're gonna cook really fast, so just watch them and stir them frequently. After about a minute, I'm just adding the garlic. Same deal with this, it's gonna cook really fast. It smells great in here already. Garlic's been going for about a minute. You can skip the wine if you want. You could just use more lemon juice, but I'm doing some dry white wine, about 1/3 of a cup. I used to joke around with my buddy when I worked in restaurants about how we were gonna make the next dish. And I always said, oh, maybe it's gonna be shallots, garlic, white wine, chicken stock, butter, and lemon juice, because those are the flavors of a restaurant. And of course, right now we're doing it for a chicken dish, but say we're making a steak, we wanted to make a pan sauce for steak. Instead of white wine, we do red wine. Instead of chicken stock, we do beef stock, and the rest stays the same, and there, boom, there you have a steak sauce. Now we're gonna cook this down again until it's almost gone. As you can see, that wine is almost reduced all the way down. At this point, I'm adding in my chicken stock, about a cup of it. It's homemade, but you can use whatever, I don't care. I just want you to cook. I want you to make yourself a piece of chicken and make yourself the pan sauce, sit down and eat it and go, I don't need to spend money at restaurants anymore. At least not at chicken restaurants. Not at restaurants that just serve chicken, because you'll be able to do it better yourself. That's what I want. The chicken stock is now reduced by about 80%. You can see it's starting to thicken up on its own here. At this point, you want to turn that heat all the way down, low, low, low. And I'm going to start working in little cubes of cold unsalted butter. This is super important. You have all that acid coming from the wine, so you need the butter to cut through it to balance out the sauce. And you want to work in a little at a time, and it's going to emulsify and thicken the sauce. And you don't want to add any more butter until those first little cubes are worked in. A little more, same deal. And then lastly, the lemon, just a little. And of course, be a good little chefy, taste your sauce. Just test it for seasoning and test it for the ratio of fat to acid, meaning butter to wine. I'm gonna do a touch more butter, small little pinch of salt, and finally, chives. Once the chives go in, kill the heat. There's your pan sauce done. This is even a tiny bit thick for my liking, but I think most people actually probably prefer it this way. If you want to thin it out, you could just add a little more chicken stock. When it comes time to serve, you can obviously just slice the chicken like that if you want. If you like that look, it's fine. I will say though, the grains on the chicken are running like that, so if you want to go by chef rules, you actually should slice it across, which you will see done in some high-end kind of restaurants. So that's what I'm gonna do. You should get a more tender bite that way. And just look at this. You can see when the moisture is just pulling up on the breast like that, it is seriously juicy. Look at that. No camera tricks here, no fancy editing, no like dipping the chicken in the juices that came out after I cut it. It is actually just literally like, you see this, Marcus? See it just dripping the juice? And that's what we want. All right, let's slice the rest and then let's take it to the plate and hit it with the sauce. All right, Marcus, buddy, here we go. Chicken time. Yum.
We cook a lot of complicated things, complex. This is simple and one of the best things that I've ever had. Perfectly cooked chicken, perfectly flavored sauce. If you don't like chicken breast, you haven't eaten it like this.
These sort of preparations just make me personally really happy. I don't know, it's all just about a little bit of technique, that's it. You know what I mean? There's nothing special here besides just getting that sauce right, getting the butter perfectly emulsified in, not overcooking the chicken breast, not moving the chicken breast around as soon as you place it in the pan. Doing all those little things really well add up to make a great bite. It's so tender.
I would legit eat 3 entire chicken breasts just like this. There's nothing else to say. We're gonna finish this in the next 2 seconds. Make it.
Make it. No. Wait, I didn't eat the bite. Okay. Thanks for watching, and if you're looking to stock your kitchen, I have links down in the description to all my favorite products that I use on this channel. We also have an ebook available called Master in the Making that has 55 of my favorite recipes. And if you want to keep learning today, here are 2 more incredible chicken recipes that I know you're gonna love. Until next time, you know I love you and I'm out!